RAF pilots suspect that Russia jammed signals on the Defence Secretary Grant Shapps' plane. He was flying back from Poland after visiting British troops taking part in the largest NATO exercise there since the end of the Cold War, and flew past Kaliningrad, a Russian exclave which borders Poland and has a coastline on the Baltic. The aircraft's GPS stopped working, and also some other satellite communications, including the satellite internet connection on board. Now, Shapps, who's a qualified pilot himself, was assured that the safety of the aircraft was not jeopardised at any time, but defence sources have condemned this as wildly irresponsible by Russia. There's no suggestion that this plane, this British Royal Air Force jet, which was liveried in Union Jack colours, had been deliberately targeted. Rather, this appears to be evidence of blanket interference which Russia runs from the Kaliningrad exclave. Indeed, similar sorts of electronic warfare attacks have been reported before against Royal Air Force jets. Specifically in 2021, pilots landing at RAF Akrotiri on the southern tip of Cyprus reported similar sorts of interference against their aircraft's GPS navigation systems. Now, there is also precedent for this in Ukraine, where GPS spoofing has been part of the war, performed by both sides to try and confuse the other side's navigation systems. GPS essentially relies on devices such as our phones, but also such as aircraft, receiving signals from satellites, and those signals are timed, and the devices can compare the time signatures from those signals to effectively triangulate their own position. Now, one of the ways to jam those signals is to use spoofing, to emit fake GPS signals to confuse the devices, but there are also alternative ways of effectively trying to fill the electromagnetic spectrum with other signals, with other noise, if you like, that prevents those devices, those receivers, from hearing the messages they are looking for. Now, it's unclear exactly what was going on, at least unclear to us. I was on board the plane at the time. We'd been visiting those British troops in Poland with Grant Shapps. We were aware that signals had been interrupted. We could detect that from the aircraft's internet connection. We're not sure exactly how it was caused, but nonetheless, as the defence sources said themselves, of concern. And whilst the RAF jet, this Dassault Falcon 900, was able to carry on flying safely, there are a number of other fallback mechanisms that pilots could rely on. There is concern that civilian jets flying in and around the same areas may be affected, and ultimately this sort of interference could put lives at risk. I think the feeling from the Royal Air Force is that they are military pilots flying military planes. They are well equipped to deal with this sort of harassment, if you like, low-level harassment in their eyes from Russia. But there is potential for it to be more serious were these civilian aircraft. Grant Shapps had hailed the British troops who were operating in Poland as heroes. He'd met his counterpart, the Polish Defence Minister, and seen some of the work that Polish, British, French, Spanish and American forces were all doing as part of Exercise Dragon, which is one of the exercises within Steadfast Defender. I don't think that this incident on the plane really dented Shapps' confidence either at all in the NATO exercises or in the Royal Air Force. It was really something that was noted rather than something that was of great concern, but nonetheless, taken in the wider picture of nation states acting in responsible ways, this is not the way British defence officials would expect a nation state to behave.